most of us surely know that success has many stories and failure have none. So when I say failure have none, most of us who are into angel investment are the ones who are into the world of presumptions and assumptions, who are taking high risks and probably expecting high returns. Now, when I say presumptions and assumptions, now many of you might ask, then what is the valuation all about? Now, the valuation is all about is probably you putting yourself 5 years from now, this would be the returns which you would be giving an angel investor, and probably you talking about this kind of returns are going to be given to an angel investor or an investor, and which again is an assumption because none of us know that what would happen after 5 years. So coming back, I only have a data, if I can use the next slide, please. I only have a data of 2017 when almost 1,36,000 crore was invested in a startup. Okay, now when I say 1,36,000 crore was invested in a startup, in startups, I would also like to say that there was one investment check which was written every 8 hours. Now, in spite of that, 9 out of 10 startups fail in the first year itself. So I'm only talking about the success rate of 10%. And if the success rate of 10%, then you can imagine what is the kind of risk we as angel investors are taking. So till now, I've invested in almost 26 concepts. In 26 concepts, I have lost in almost 20 concepts. And probably there are only 6 of them which has fetched me. And when I say there are only 6 of them which has fetched me, you can understand if I'm still sitting here and smiling at you all, the reason behind that is 6 fetched me enough returns that I can still smile. Right now, what kind of business investor like to invest in, or how big the opportunity would be is a question now. Now, I just want to pose a question to all the participants over here, and I want a reply from you guys. Now, there was a particular investment meeting which I attended, wherein there was somebody who was trying to pitch a concept to me, and his requirement was hardly 25 lakhs as an angel investment. And he was so very thorough with the concept. He came to me and he started saying it's his passion. And then we just took a break for a tea. And both of us went down, had a cup of tea. He said he has to pick up something from his car. He went to his BMW 520D and picked up a document and walked up to me. And then I asked him, boss, how much have you invested in this particular business till now? He said nil. And what was he expecting? He was expecting an investor to invest 25 lakhs with him. Now my question is open to you all. Would an investor invest with him? So can I get somebody answering this question, please?
Yeah, he can definitely invest because he's already running a BMW 520 series. So he could easily invest that kind of money into his own business.
No, what I'm asking is, me as an investor, should I invest with him?
No, definitely no.
Right. So obviously I didn't invest with him. Definitely the answer is no, because very simple, if he's looking at just 25 lakh rupees and if he's so passionate about that particular business, why does he need me? Right? So that's where the entire concept is, whether you would like to invest on only an idea or whether you would like to invest on a team or on a person. If I can have the next slide, please. Sonali, the next slide, please. Yeah. So quite obvious that we look at the team. Now, when we look at the team, what do we look in the team? We obviously try to look at how passionate the team is about the concept which they have created. We also try to look at whether they have a balanced team, which might not be taking, if there are 2 or 3 people in a team, we would also like to see whether there is a balance in them or whether they have a synergy in them. Then we would like to see whether the team is open to scalability or open to diluting their stakes to a certain extent, because every investor today looks at an exit, right? So then we talk about the scalability of the model. Now, giving you an example, if there is a particular thing, investment wherein your requirement is to invest 1 crore and you have a guaranteed returns of say 18%, would an angel investor invest in that particular idea? Can I have an answer from somebody?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes?
I think
angel investor would be interested.
What I had one more person who wanted to become an angel investor or who is an angel investor. Can you tell me, sir, would you like to invest in this idea? 1 crore guaranteed 18% returns.
No, sir. No, sir.
Pardon?
No.
Why no, sir?
See, there's no guarantee first thing.
No, he's saying he'll give you sure guarantee of 18% returns. That's it. There's nothing else.
So as an angel investor, I'm not looking for 18%. First thing is that.
All right. Here you come. So what we are trying to say is, as an angel investor, we are not looking at a guaranteed returns of 18%, but we are also looking at a scalability of that particular business model, wherein we would be able to take at least a 3x above of our investment, right? So coming to scalability of a business model, then what kind of business will be scalable? Okay. So if I can have somebody pitch their idea, please. If there are entrepreneurs who are trying to raise funds, I can be open to any of the ideas. Anyone?
Mr. Murugan, Sri Priya.
Yeah, sure, Divya. I would like to go. I would like to try to pitch
Yes,
with
Mr.
him.
Murugan, I heard you in the last session that you are into animation and you are trying to, get into the media, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Tell me, Mr. Murugan.
Yeah. Okay. So as I said earlier, we are coming up with a couple of IPs and more in the pipeline. So we are developing the content which will be focusing more on entertainment as well as some informative value to that product, which is right now lacking in the industry. So we have done our due diligence and we have engaged a couple of professional teams which have carried out. We have built up a business plan and a pitch entirely for seeking investments.
Now, what is the investment which you are seeking, Mr. Murugan?
So right now, we have got 2 IPs as I mentioned. So initially, we are going to come up with one IP, which is already a existing brand. That is Shaktiman. As you know already, it is already one of the popular TV series. So we are coming up with the animated avatar of that series. So we are looking for initially around 5.5 crores is the initial investment for season 1 of that series. So we have already.
And how are you going to scale this up? 5.5 crores of investment which has been done with you?
Yeah. So basically, initially, unlike the other business models where there will be a singular source of revenue. For example, if you are into manufacturing, you manufacture a product, you sell it, and the sale will be the only revenue out of it, right? But in this industry, we have got multimodal of revenues. So it is much more scalable than other models. For example, when I create a series, I sell it. So the telecast rights, when I sell them, I get part of my investment already back with me. In addition to that, I have other modes of revenue like my merchandising, licensing, gaming. I can come up with comics book on the series. So these are all the other ancillary revenue models that are available. So that will give me at least 4x of my revenue back.
Okay.
So we have already worked out with the team. I have got a complete pitch. If you want for an
according to you, Mr. Murugan, being an investor, what should I look at? I should look at Mr. Murugan, or I should look at the concept which he's trying to promote?
The concept.
Okay. Now, if I look at your concept, should I look at the one IP which you have tried to promote, or should I look at your entire capability of generating more IPs?
Entire capability, not one.
Right. That means I have to look at more at Mr. Murugan than only the concept.
As well as the team also. Yeah.
Exactly. So that's how we come. Yes, I'll take it forward. So you all over here might have understood what I am trying to get to. So now we would, as an investor, also try to evaluate whether we have a scalable business model. So if Mr. Murugan says that I have only one IP which is going to give me this kind of a returns, then it is preferable for him to get to an investor who might not be looking at angel investment, right? But if he's coming for an angel investment, what we would be thinking about is whether he has a capability of bringing more number of IPs like this, right? So coming back, now where do an angel investor come in? Now, most of the times there's a confusion between what would be a VC's role, what would be an angel investor's role, or what would be any investment role. So if we come to a concept of an angel investor, we usually come in at an ideation stage, go till a proof of concept stage, then probably look at bringing it to a certain level of revenue model and then take a exit. So when we select a particular idea, a team, a scalable business model, then we go for a proof of concept. In between this stage, if there is a small investment which comes in from an angel investor, once you establish a proof of concept, we become also a strategic investor for you, who's going to promote your product to a venture capitalist. So this is the role of an angel investor, right? Now going to a solid value proposition. Now what else do we see in a concept? Once the proof of concept is there, now there are a lot of guys who would be having hundreds of ideas, but in all these ideas, it's all passion driven ideas, with hardly 5% of the ideas which we have seen till now are the ones which has a solid value proposition. Now, when I say value proposition, now Mr. Murugan said he has an idea, which is an IP. He has taken an IP of Shaktiman and now he's trying to create it into a value proposition with multiple modes of generating revenue, right? This is something which we heard from Mr. Murugan. Now, when we hear about that multiple modes of generating revenue, we as angel investors, we also try to evaluate whether that value proposition is strong enough for a 5.5 crore of investment, which is going to give us an exit in the end at what value, right? So if we see there is a value which is added to it to 2x or 3x or something like that, then obviously as an angel investor, we would come in and invest. Now, giving you one small example of Byju's, okay? Now, having said, I think Divya had already given you all my introduction. In 2008, I invested in a concept called Dial Mantra. Now, Dial Mantra was supposedly organizing unorganized sector. Now, what do I mean by organizing unorganized sector? There are painters, electricians, plumbers around. So somebody came up with the concept that why can't you, probably invest in a concept like this, which would organize all this unorganized sector and give a value proposition. I said, fine. So we invested. So when we invested in 2008-9 into it, we realized that by 2010-11, they were not able to survive. Why they were not able to survive? Because they were still in a very small market. The data which they had of an unorganized sector was very limited. So the value proposition which we expected it to have was not there. So we lost money in that concept. But the same concept in 2013 was started by somebody else in Bangalore. By 2017, it became a 650 crore valuation company with the name called as Urban Clap. Now, concept is same. Team probably had the similar idea. But why is that? We failed. Now, can somebody tell me that?
Sir, this is Subhash this side.
Yeah. Yes, Mr. Subhash.
What I believe in is like there was the awareness was not created. The first thing.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. Something else?
The acceptability of the market was not there as compared to 2010 and 2014.
Exactly. So we were quite early into the market because we were on a time in 2010-11 when the telephone revolution or the revolution of data was not as much as it was in 2014, right? So everybody, probably 30 to 40% of them were the only ones who were carrying mobile phones. So the data was only in hardly 20 or 25% of the mobile phones. So that was a time when we started something which obviously didn't have a market opportunity as big it was in 2014. So sometimes the idea might not be wrong, but you might be in a wrong market at a wrong time. So as an investor, we also try to understand whether your concept is at the right market or whether you are pitching it at the right time. Now going next, we also try to evaluate what are the high entry barriers. Now, somebody said they want to get into a legal tech company. Now, I've also invested in a legal tech company. Now, when I invest in a legal tech company, quite obvious, we all try to understand that what might be the entry barrier. Now, somebody wants to just generate notices. Now, what might be the entry barrier to just generate notices? Anybody can come up with the answer?
Sir, didn't understand your question. Can you please repeat
My
it?
question is now, see, somebody want to start. Now, what do you, just giving an example, somebody wants to start a legal tech company, right?
Right.
And the legal tech company wants to generate notices. Notices might be agreement or something like that, right? What will be the entry barrier for this? Whether the entry barrier is high or low?
There are lawyers already in the market.
You have lawyers already, yes. So the entry level becomes high or low according to you?
For me, it's a low because if I understand business from the legal, it will be low because if I want to start a legal firm, there are already entry level people are already there, right? But those are the individuals. First thing, they don't have a pull up of lawyers sitting, and individuals you can reach out to the individuals very soon.
Okay. So there is no perfect answer for it right now unless we understand what the concept is. But what I'm trying to tell you is what is that we try to analyze. Now, if there is a concept wherein there is a lot of coding behind it and there is a lot of things which is required, which might not be available openly in the market, then quite obvious the entry level is high. Now, if you want probably the leading lawyers to be positioned along with you, okay? Now, if that is one among the requirements and if they have signed an exclusivity with those particular lawyers, then obviously the entry level is very high, okay? But probably if you have only general lawyers who are going to be there in that, then there are thousands of them who might just enter into that particular market again. So somebody can copy your idea within 24 hours. So when the concept is made, we also try to understand whether the entry barrier is pretty high or whether it is low. Now, second, the last but one would be monetization model. Now, when Mr. Murugan spoke about his concept, he also told us where and all we can monetize, right? Now, he said we can monetize through OTT, we can monetize through on-screen branding, we can monetize through whatever. Now, there is somebody who is probably trying to when there was a TikTok time, so there was a lady who was quite famous on TikTok and who had subscribers of almost 20 million. Now, do you think a subscriber of 20 million is a strong monetization model? Can somebody answer me that? Can somebody answer me whether it's a strong monetization model? Like somebody has a subscriber of 20 million, okay? And can we monetize it?
I think yes, we can.
We can monetize it. And how do you think we can monetize it?
Like when a person has so much of a subscribers, then chances are that ad revenues would be the ideal. It will be ideal platform to showcase advertisements, relevant advertisements in that platforms. Even if you are able to convert a percentage of that into end customers, then I think it's good returns.
Can he or she also be an influencer market for us?
Yes.
Right. So there is a monetization model behind even a subscription. So can we understand how to monetize that is something which we need to try and understand from the business model which you propose, right? Now, having all this, then at the end, what is that an investor looks at is a potential exit. Now, when I say a potential exit, there was one more concept which I worked on or which I invested in called a smart class. Now, in the year 2010, we used media to coach 10th standard students. Now, we used a TV channel to coach 10th standard students. That was a time when probably the syllabus had changed. So somebody came and pitched to me saying that the syllabus has changed, but the resources do not have enough knowledge to really teach that syllabus. So we have a solution that will come up with 36 professional teachers who have a hold on the syllabus. They'll come and teach it in media. Okay. We accepted the model. We gave them a slot and they came, they taught. Okay. But this was in 2010. In 2015, a similar concept like this on an online platform, which you all know, was invested by Aaron Capital. Aaron Capital invested 30 crores and took a more than 10x exit. Now, when Aaron Capital invests in Byju hardly 30 crores and takes an exit, you can imagine at what level they would have taken an exit. So sometimes a potential exit, whether we can take an exit in that particular concept, is something which is as important as the concept itself, right? So this is what the investors look into. Now, there are different levels in when you probably pitch a concept to us. Now, it will start from an investor pitching. Probably you will come and you will propose that this is my concept. Then there'll be a screening. So when there is a screening, now, having said that there is a screening, unfortunately, why does 9 out of 10 business ideas fail in our country? Can anybody tell me why? Can anybody tell me why most of the ideas, probably the majority of them, fail within the first year of incubation?
Sir, first thing I believe like the lack of funding.
Yes, Subhashji.
The lack of funding or
okay,
adequate funding that is required at that particular time, whenever
Right.
they're required.
Right. Anything else?
Second thing is innovation. Regarding
Okay.
whatever they are doing, they don't innovate much, or they do not put in technology much into it if it is required. So the
Right.
innovation in the development part is missing. And third, obviously, is the passion and the you could say.
Okay.
Potential of
Anything
the
else? Anything else?
I think it's
I
the
think
market.
long-term vision.
Long-term vision. Okay. Anybody else?
Maybe nobody needs it.
Some people would not need it. Okay. Anything else? Okay. I'll just give you a concept. Now, initially, before this co-living as a concept started, there was a group of techies who came out of Bangalore, and they said we need to have houses on rent without probably brokerages, so which can be shared by different people, right? By probably different people who are getting into Bangalore in search of job, or who would have just found a job. So this particular concept took off way back in 2007 itself. Okay, 2006 or 2007 itself. In 2007, when they started this concept, they started leasing out apartments or houses in different areas and gave it for co-living. But by 2010, they had to shut shop. Now, why do you think they had to shut shop?
Ahead of their time, maybe.
Any other reason? Okay, I'll come to that. The major reason was there was no legal entity for co-living, right? Now, what had happened is way back in 2007, there was no concept called co-living. So these people who started, they didn't know what are the rules and regulations. They didn't do that diligence as clear that they would know that there is a need of having a license to run a firm like this, right? So they had to face all kind of notices, then service tax, and then whatnot. And because of this, their entire calculation went on a toss, and they had to shut their shop. But the same concept, after clearing all the diligences and compliances which were required, took off quite well. And today we look at this particular sector, which is booming really fine. So having the right diligence at the right time, business diligence at the right time, is as important as having a right idea. Because most of us will have an idea, but very few of us go to the depth of it to find out what are the diligences and compliances required for this particular idea, right? So this is as important as having an idea. Now, then comes, as an investor, how do we do the negotiations? Now, what is valuation? Now, coming back to what is valuation. There is one person who recently came up to me and said he's running one restaurant and that restaurant is having an annual turnover of 1 crore, and he wants to set up 7 more restaurants in next 2 years, and he is expecting 7 crores as an investment, and is ready to give out 45% stakes in that company. What is your take on it? Can I
think
repeat it again?
No, it was overvalued, I believe.
It is 1 crore of it. He's having a 1 crore turnover.
Turnover, yes.
Okay. He wants to open at 7 more restaurants. Okay. He's expecting 7 crore of investment, and he's ready to give 45% shares. Would you like to invest 7 crores?
No,
Why no?
because his right now his present turnover is 1 crore. So it is not the profit; it is only the turnover. So
Fine.
in
What
addition,
might be a PAT in a QSR? Probably would be around 30 to 32%.
35, yeah,
Okay. Okay. So 30 lakhs is the profit. Now,
exactly.
now tell me
So
7 crore
in
of
a-
investment.
No, not possible, because if we 7 crore of investment, and there is no guarantee that the other 7 locations are going to be equally successful. That is one part. And second one is, in the current valuation, the recovery time is going to take forever.
Okay.
That is, I believe, what-
Any other view on this? Any other view on this?
So he's expecting same kind of revenue generation from the next
All the 7 locations.
7 locations, which is not possible in the first year though, right? And he's expecting to shell out 45%, and 45% is a very high return that he is committing to the investor at the
You think
first
so?
go.
He is giving away 45% stakes. That means
Yeah.
if you invest 7 crore, you become 45% shareholder in his company.
Right. So out of 100%, 45% is gone to the investor. Then there'll be the expenses. So what he will be left with? As if I look at in that way.
It doesn't work that way. Subhashi, how it works is, now you are involved in a company, you pick up 45% stakes in that company. The first right goes to all the expenses. Then on the PAT, you get that 45% when you become 45% shareholder. Okay. But having said that, now when I say there is a 7 crore of investment for a 45% stake, what is the investment of the promoter? What is the investment of a promoter according to you? It's 1 crore.
Yeah.
Am I right?
Yeah.
So what are you valuing it at?
7 crores.
So what is that you are getting for that 7 crore of investment?
45% equity in the company.
Does it make sense to you?
No way.
Okay.
Absolutely not.
Now again, coming back to it. Now, if I realize that he is going to show a projection in next 5 years where he is going to grow his turnover from each store or each QSR at the rate of at least 15%, would you like to invest in that company? You got what I'm saying? So now the 7 crores plus 1 crore, the 8 crore will have an addition of 15%. But you get 45% stake.
It totally depends on the locations that he's looking at.
No, he has promised a 1 crore of similar returns every year, and it is going to grow at the rate of 15% year on year.
Obviously, then I will invest.
Give me the reason.
Because I could see the growth first thing, and my money is also growing because after 5 years, that 8 crores will become multiplied for the 15% CAGR. So I will get 45% of later 5 years just a value hogi.
Okay. Now, I wish that all the participants who are here, you should take your pen and paper, put this on a paper, try to see what is going to be the result at the end of 5th year if it grows at 15% year on year. Now, having said that, the investor will not just bet like that, right? Investor will surely try to think whether it can really grow at 15%. So what is that he's going to do? He is going to try and find out in the previous 5 years whether this business has grown at least at the rate of 10 to 12%. Am I right? So if the business has grown at the rate of 10 to 12%, then it makes sense that it is going to grow at the rate of 15%. And that's a perception on which you are ready to risk your money. So Subhashji, when you say that yes should be substantiated with the number, and the number should be substantiated with the proof. Now, what is the proof? How did he grow in the previous 5 years is the proof for him to say how he's going to grow in the next 5 years, right?
Right, sir.
Done. So can I have the next slide, please, Sonali? Next slide, please. Okay. Now, when do you want to go for fundraising? Now, this is an amazing question which we all have right now. There is a QSR which I spoke about, which has been established for last 5 years. Okay. And he has been growing at 10 to 12%. And his present turnover is 1 crore, as I said in my previous slide. Now, whether that is the stage when he has to go out and look at fundraising, or probably somebody is trying to look at a startup with only an idea, no proof of concept, whether I should look at that particular business at that stage. Can somebody give me an answer? Which one should I invest in?
When there is a little bit of traction in the business already, when they have proved that yes, this is scalable and it can be monetized, that is the stage they should look for funds.
Okay.
In my opinion.
Any other opinions?
So I need to think over my risk adversity, because one thing is when is an idea, so I can get a much better return or value, and second is what the traction what he has already built in. So I have both the proposition in front of me. I have to choose upon.
You are the one who has to choose, right? Fine. Any other options? Now, friends,
If it's a very good,
yeah.
if it's a very good innovation and it's sort of satisfies all your things, then probably you can go in for investment even in the early stage too.
That's right. Okay.
Otherwise,
Fine. I got what she's trying to say. If it's an innovation and if it's capital intensive at the beginning and the promoter is not able to have that kind of a capital arranged so that he can take it till the proof of concept, and that innovation is seeing the traction which I want, why not invest in that particular business before the proof of concept? Then the results also has to be similar. So what happens is when you invest in an idea like that, quite obvious that you will look at the returns which will be much higher than an idea which has already reached the stage of proof of concept and which is seeing a stable growth, and the growth at that particular stage might be well traction, right? So probably you would like to look at both the options, and it is a presumption on which you would be working on. Now, when we ask, is your startup ready for investment? Now, what do we mean by is your startup ready for investment? Can anybody answer?
I think when our startup whenever a startup is already have a fixed concept, they have already tried it, and when they are ready to scale, move on to the next level, maybe from the R&D level they have moved on, they have come up with a pilot, and they feel that yes, it is going to solve one particular problem, or it is going to provide a solution to a particular segment of society. I think that is the point in time they can move up if they can look for funding.
Okay, any other answers? Can anybody tell me what do you mean by whether you are ready for investment?
I think it's at a point where I'm about to grow and it's my growth is being hampered. I personally feel like that. I don't know. Then I would really want someone to pitch me out. That is the kind of thing that I would look for.
Right. Okay. Given two
But from
scenarios,
investor point,
right. Given two scenarios, the scenario one, when an idea is made and the idea is yet to take off, but it's an amazing idea. Okay. Scenario two, somebody, and it doesn't have a very high entry level, and the promoter himself or the founder himself can take it to a certain level, but he has not taken it and he has come for investment. Would you like to invest in scenario one? I'll repeat. The scenario one is it's an amazing idea. The idea is still in the ideation stage. The promoter or a founder has come to you. He doesn't have a very high level of barrier to do that particular project, but he has not done the project, but he wants you to participate in that project. Would you like to participate in such projects?
No,
Why no?
because I would like to see some skin of in the game of the promoter himself. Because if he doesn't believe in his own idea, he cannot expect some other investor to come and help him out.
Right. So any other answers for this? I mean, do you think Mr. Murugan was right in that?
so I would take a larger stake if I was an investor. I would take a larger stake and I would go ahead with it if I was convinced of the returns. If it is really a high end kind of a project.
Okay. Coming back to it, I did the same thing in one of the projects where I took a larger stake in that particular company. Okay. And I invested with that particular company before it went to a POC. But you know what happened? The team was not there. So after a year, what I realized, the concept was there, which concept is still mine right now because I hold a majority stake in that company. But the team's interest in promoting that particular company is not as much as it would have been if his skin was there in the game. Now, having said that, there is no perfect assumption and the gut feeling on which you're going to work. So,
I should
yes.
So I should be able to actually get into the shoes of the, the performer as well. So then only I would invest as far as I'm.
Point taken. Let's have the stages in the screen, please. The next slide. Fine. So all of us must be knowing the early stage. The next one. Right. No, yes, that's the slide which I want. The previous one, please. The next one. Right. So early stage, expansion stage. Now, when we talk about early stage, now from the ideation till proof of concept can be taken as a early stage in any of the idea, right? There are different ways of looking at it, but I would say that early stage is from ideation till POC. So early stage is mostly funded by angel investors. Now that's where we pitch in. Now when we pitch in at an early stage, what happens is quite obvious, it's a highest risk. So we expect a high returns. So what do we mean by high returns? Now I already gave you an example of Byju. Now in Byju, Aaron Capital invested 30 crores. They took an exit at 10x. It was a concept which was liked and probably which took to a certain stage when now we know that it is the Series X which is going on and it is already a unicorn. Now, as an angel investor, when we invest in an early stage, we always look at taking the exit by the expansion stage because we are not the ones who will be involving in the expansion stage because there comes a role of a venture capitalist. Okay, can I have the next slide, please? Now, how much fund your startup needs, and there are various techniques to evaluate how much fund it needs. But having said that, how many of us at the proof of concept level really prepare that they can take probably a projection for next 5 years. Now, having said that, I also realize that most of the ideas which come at the ideation stage till the proof of concept, it's only the passion which drives them. And it's only after the proof of concept you will actually have an idea how you can really expand and what is the fund which you require. But there are people who are thorough right at the beginning with a clear view are the ones who are the ones who are going to be successful in this particular startups, right? Can I have the next slide? Next slide, please. Okay. Now, a quick glance at different methods. Now, cost to duplicate. Now, how do you do a valuation? Now, there is an idea of a QSR which I came up with. Now, how do you think I should evaluate this particular QSR, and what is the kind of valuation I can give? Can somebody answer me? We mentioned about a QSR, 1 crore turnover, probably an investment of 7 crore can give me a 8 crore turnover, but I'll have 45% stakes. So how do you think I should evaluate this QSR? Anybody? Muruganji?
I think it should be DCF.
It should be discounted cash flow.
Yes.
Okay. Anybody else? Fine. See, when it comes to most of the technology platforms where we are working, where the entry level barrier is very high. Now, what do we mean by entry level barrier being very high? See, quite obvious that when I just mentioned about a legal tech, right? Now, when there is a concept which comes into the market like Swiggy, right? Now, Swiggy has come into the market, Zomato comes into the market. Now, somebody wants to evaluate Swiggy and Zomato. How do they evaluate? How do you think they should evaluate it?
The market entry, sir. The
market
expanse of, yeah.
Okay. Now, Swiggy, I wouldn't say Swiggy, XYZ company is present as a last mile delivery partner in 20 locations. Okay. Wherein in 20 locations, they have 100 foods on ground. Okay. This is the calculation. Now, they have only this and they are trying to get a turnover of XYZ. Whatever is that value you want to fill. Now, you want to evaluate that company. One among the ways of evaluating this company would be, if I want to be present in 20 locations and have 100 people on ground within next 1 year, what would be the cost for me, which is involved to do that? So that is the cost to duplicate, right? This is one way of evaluating that particular company. Similarly, there might be another way, that is there is a cash flow which is already generated. Right? So if there is a cash flow generated, whether if we try to project this particular cash flow for next 5 years at the growth rate by taking the previous 3 years or a 5 years growth rate, can we have a discounted cash flow kind of a method of valuation? Then there is a bottom line, then market multiple is again bottom line everybody would be knowing. So when we talk about market multiple, we might have a historic data. Now, what do I mean by historic data? There are operation companies which are valued at 3x. There are QSR companies which are valued in between 5x to 4x to 5x. So there are similar market data which you get on different businesses, and thereby that would be one among the methods of evaluating your particular venture. Then there are valuation by stages. That by valuation by stages, we also mean that what level you have entered and what is going to be your exit level and what multiple have you valuated yourself and which stage you are, whether you are at an early stage or which series are you participating in. Okay, we probably don't have time to get into the depth of this particular calculation because I think my time is also running out. We'll talk about it in detail in some other time, right? Now, I just want to give you one example with the proper calculation. Now, how do you really give a pitch deck to somebody who wants to enter any, who wants to pitch it to a venture capitalist or an angel investor? So I just took one of the data from Truck First, which is a logistics startup, which received almost 10 million USD funding from Safe Partners. Now, how did they prepare their pitch deck? Can I have the next slide, please? Okay. So when you went for a valuation, the example was, there are 15 lakh trucks. See, there was no previous data available in this particular space. So there has to be a different method to evaluate this. So how did they evaluate? There are 50 lakh trucks running throughout India, right? So if there are 50 lakh trucks running throughout India, total truck trips per year is going to be 12 crore truck trips. This is the average which has been taken out of each truck which does trips. Then there is an average freight cost of 30,000 rupees. The Truck First proposed that it's going to charge 2% of the freight cost as fees for them to bring them into a platform where they are connecting the industry to the truck owners, right? Now, if the industry wants to book a part load, it can book a part load. If the industry wants to book up a full load, it can book a full load, but they charge 2% of it as a freight cost. So the valuation says they get 600 rupees per freight load, or 600 at the rate of 2% as a freight load charges. So the total opportunity size is 12 crore truck trips into 600 rupees, which gives 7,200 crore as the total market size, right? When the 7,200 crore is the market size, let's go to the next slide. Next slide, please. So now when you say the 7,200 crore is going to be the total market size, now from there they try to say that whether we are able to reach at least 10% of this particular, total market size through this particular concept. Now, if Truck First can cover at least 10% of 7,200 crore, then their turnover is going to be 720 crore. So they don't have any data. So how do you pitch this particular valuation? Now, can I have somebody answering me how to pitch this? You know the market size. Market size is 7,200 crore. The Truck First is a company which books the freight for industries. The industry can approach truck First, and the truck owners can approach Truck First. So it's a platform. Now, it got a valuation already of 10 million USD. But how do you think it was valuated? Can anybody answer me? Fine. I'm having somebody there.
So Subhash.
Yeah, Subhashji.
So the total opportunity size was 7,200 crores.
Okay.
Now, what we are expecting was like 20% of the market share.
Okay.
Right. That roughly comes around 1,400.
Okay. 40.
Yeah. And the value that what we give is around 10% of the total 20% market share.
Okay.
So this is how I believe.
But do you think this valuation is right?
So to start with, it's right because we still don't have the data.
Right. So having said that, can I have the next slide, please? Can I have the next slide, please? Okay. So having said that, there is no perfect answer for why that valuation, right? So what happens in most of the cases, now somebody wrote a 30 crore check for a edutech company at an angel investment level, but it became 340 crores at an exit point after 4 years, right? Now, if you ask him when he had just invested 30 crore, whether his investment decision was right, I think 50% of them would have said no, okay? But it is at the end of the day, it is his gut feeling which fetched him that kind of a return. So there are different ways of valuation, but having said there are different ways of valuation, What is more important is your gut feeling and the presumption that it is going to reach that much of market size, right? So I think we are at almost the end of the time given to me. I was given 1 hour. I am left with just 5 more minutes. If there are any more questions, you can ask me, and I think we can discuss on that, right? Any questions?
Right. So we're good to start with the Ask Me Anything session. Somehow I'm very fond of it because I believe that people can actually open up their hearts, and without being worried about what the speaker will think or others will think, they can actually.
Sure. And I hope I am worth that Ask Me Anything. I'm not very sure whether I can answer all your questions, but surely I'll try to answer few out of my small experience.
Yeah, Dr. Vilas, this is Murugan. So just my final question is, like, basically what I have felt is I have been attending a lot of webinars, and even in person also I have attended few workshops on these sort of investment pitch, all
Right.
those. So mostly I feel that people would like to invest only on disruptive ideas, like ideas that is like something unique, something that is going to solve a very, very unique problem. Like you have mentioned about this truck aggregator business. I think
Right.
that is unique because right now there is nothing existing on those lines. There are few other small companies that are working like something called as Porter. There is a small, that is, they provide you small transports for your local within city limits, shifting of your small furnitures or something like that. So I think
Right.
most of the investors are interested to invest in such disruptive tech startups only. Conventional ideas are already, if you are trying to replicate an existing business, people are not interested too much into it until otherwise that is already into some profit making, or maybe the growth is so good, then only people are is it correct, like
Okay. See, you are right to a certain extent that the tech-based startups are the ones which are very much in limelight right now for the investors. But having said that, or the disruptive ideas are the ones where investors like to invest. But having said that, see, I have seen a lot of traction in concepts where there are angel investors who have invested in QSRs, angel investors who have invested in F&B businesses. So there are, several businesses wherein the angel investors have invested. But then, having also said that, there is no scalability in those kind of concepts. So when I say scalability, see, the disruptive ideas with the proper scalability are the ones which are going to give the 10x plus kind of a
return?
growth for an investor. Whereas when you talk about a QSR, it is, you know that at the max it can grow at a certain level, and this is my level of growth, right? That's the reason why most of the times the disruptive ideas are the ones where the investors have invested their majority stake in, right?
Okay, one follow-up question, like this post-COVID, what do you feel like? Which are the businesses that are most likely to get investors' approvals? Because right now, whatever we have been discussing, like maybe the QSR, F&B, everything has been run out of business. Most of the almost, if I am, I read recently that 30% of F&B industry in especially in Delhi is already shut permanently. It is not only temporary; it is permanently shut. So,
Okay.
what are the businesses that you feel like can get the
Mr.
investors'
Murugan, I
interest?
don't know your age. My age is quite lesser than yours, probably. Okay. See, I'll tell you one thing. In my career, I saw two recessions already. That is, one
Okay.
recession was in 2009, 8-9, and the second recession is now. Okay. When I entered into business, it was probably in 2008-9 during the recession time. Now, if you ask me whether I made money during recession, yes, I made money during recession. The reason is very simple. What happens is, most of the times during a recession, there is one generation of entrepreneurs who get out of the business, or who will be very conservative in business because they would be facing the recession. Okay. And there'll be one generation of entrepreneurs who will not know what is the effect of recession. So they'll be bullish in their nature. So that's the reason why, every recession is also an opportunity.
Exactly.
Right? So now we are here in 2020, when one generation of entrepreneurs like us, we are facing the recession, and we are in a cocoon thinking that, okay, I think we need to slow down. So there is another generation of entrepreneurs who are coming into the market, who are bullish, who doesn't know anything about what is the market scenario, are the ones who are probably going to make money for next 10 years. So let us not take a call right now by thinking, whether post-COVID era is going to be favorable for us or not. But if you have a right idea and if you are at a right space at the right time, surely there is an opportunity.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for your time, Dr. Vilas.
Thanks.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
Mulin. Anybody else?
Right. So more questions. Dr. Nayak, in the meantime, once our participants, they think of more questions, I have something to ask you. How do you see organizing the, I would say, traditional market space as of now? How do you see that happening? Because, most of the traditional workers, or even we work with a couple of these clusters of artisans and handicrafts, and government has been supporting them from the livelihood perspective, but these are hit during COVID times. So how do you see this as evolving? What has your experience been?
There are a couple of things which is happening right now. There's a huge deurbanization which is happening, which you understand, right? When I say there is deurbanization, there is also another opportunity which is coming up in tier 3 and tier 4, right? Now, I am into real estate, so we have office spaces, we have co-living spaces, we build, student co-living spaces. So if you look at all this, what is happening right now is the metros are having a deurbanization problem, whereas our investments in tier 3 and tier 4 is seeing a very good traction. So having said that, what happens is you see a bigger market in a tier 3, tier 4, and probably the market is a bit saturated in your metro. So if you can create a platform wherein you are able to reach out to tier 3 and tier 4 right now with these kind of artisans, or this particular scenario, I think there is an opportunity available. So this is my take on it. Probably a lot of people wouldn't agree, but having seen the data, I am seeing, since I was in affordable housing segment, into tier 3 and tier 4, the kind of inquiries which are generated recently in last 3 months during the COVID scenario for affordable housing and low-cost housing segment is very huge, because there are a lot of people who are coming back from metro into tier 2 and tier 3. Right. So there is a buying power. There's absolutely a buying power. If you see, there is no issue with spending capability of middle class and lower middle class. It's still there, right? But the only thing is probably they are a bit scared right now, conservative. They don't know what's going to be a future. So they are still trying to establish themselves. So it's bound to bounce back within a while. It's bound to bounce back.
Sure. No, that's very promising. Thank you for sharing that. So I'd like to invite Sri Priya. She is our women entrepreneur from the Niti Aayog's program that we recently concluded. And Sri Priya, again, is a serial entrepreneur. So she started her journey with her brother. But and I must say she's very enterprising, because I've seen the kind of work she does. She had few questions. Over to you, Sri Priya.
Yeah, ma'am. Thanks so much. And my question here is, sir, would you invest in something that would bypass both the COVID kind of situation as well as a normal kind of situation? If there is a way by which we could actually work from home and deliver certain goods and stuff, because we are trying this. We're trying to build an online garment factory, as we call it. So would that kind of a scenario for investment be good, is what I'm asking.
No, see, there is no perfect answer for this question. What I'm trying to say is, see, if there is a concept which is pandemic free and pandemic proof kind of a concept which you're trying to design, then quite obvious it might find some traction. But having said that, it's all about numbers, madam. See, what happens at the end of the day is, okay, tomorrow, if it is garment, you are open to global scenario. Okay, when I say
Yeah.
global scenario, today Bangladesh is the one, is a country where probably the cost of production is hardly 20 to 25% of cost of production of rest of the world, right? Because that's
Yeah.
the kind of pay scale which they have been following since last couple of years, if I understand it right. Okay, so it's all about numbers. If the numbers are right, why not?
We're still running the show even throughout the COVID situation, actually. So,
Correct.
and we've, like you said, the tier 2, tier 3, na? Like that, we've come down on what
Right.
raw material we're using. We're
Right.
not as high fund as like before.
No, I understand
So,
what you're saying. I think we can surely take it up off this particular program too. If you have some proposal to give, we can surely discuss on that, right?
yeah, sure,
Because
sure.
I think you are
Okay.
not very, you don't want to be completely
No,
frank about
it's a
what
huge story.
exactly you are trying to do.
It's a huge story. I'll have to talk about 1 hour about it. So I don't want to waste.
I got what you're trying to say. So you can probably discuss this offline also. So I'll pass my email address. You can mail me, right?
Right. So
Yeah.
there is request from more people for your email address. If it is okay, you can put it
Yeah,
on the
that's
chat
absolutely
box.
fine. It's CEO. I'll just put it across in the chat box. I think
Yeah.
they can.
Right.
Put
And also requesting everyone to turn on their videos. Let's take a smiling group picture. I mean, you've spent almost an hour plus with us. So let's take a picture if that's okay with all of you. And if there are any closing questions anybody would like to ask, please go ahead and you can ask Dr. Nayak.
Divya, I think you have banned the picture.
No.
Yeah, you
Let
can
me,
start
I will just check. I will just check.
because the host has stopped the video.
I will just check. I've allowed. Could you check again? Yeah.
Yeah, you have allowed. So
Right,
thank
so-
you, Dr. Vilas. It was my first webinar regarding investing or entrepreneurship, right? And as I told you, I just recently started thinking of coming into this kind of concept while I'm already working for one of my organization, but definitely it was real a learning for me.
Thank you, Subhash. Yeah, I hope I was, I made sense in what I was trying to convey. But anyways, we'll keep in touch. So I've shared my email address, so you can mail me anytime.
Thank you so much.
Right. Thank you so much, Dr. Vilas. Thank you, Sonali. It was a great Sunday spent, well spent, I would say. And anybody who's interested to contact Dr. Vilas directly, please feel free to write to him. And we have the recording of